Namaskar, good afternoon. It's around 25 past 4. It's Friday, December the 5th, 2024. And today I'm singing the new year. And it's been heralded by so much male energy. The male principle is so dominant. We can see fightings and wars everywhere. Last year too, we had our share with so much threats and so much discourses on etiquettes and minding one's P's and Q's and this sort of thing from nation to nation. People throwing their dirty linings over the borders, over the barriers, over the fences and so on, the trenches even. Wrong, in my place here, we had a very nice trench and lawn, but then one day we started to wake up to find those places becoming littered. Things are being thrown in the trench, on the parapet and so on. So we have the human nature is this, they have their own ways of fighting, revolting, oppressing and suppressing and dominating. One person's ideology and philosophy wants to dominate the other and so on, But if we look at the crisis there in Russia and Ukraine, it's such a sad affair. We have body eating body and sissy eating sissy. The Ukrainians who are actually Russians, and many of them are actually gypsies also, meaning that they were travelers and they settled there and so on. And now we have the Islamic and the Israelite war. But these two wars, though I disagree with the Holy Land being desecrated with this kind of revelries and parties, which I think probably caused the Islamic rivals to retaliate and to denounce injustice on holy soil. I mean, if I see my brother or sister being desecrated, I would speak out, because you can understand the sanctity of your mother or your father and so on. And Israel is a motherland like India, but then again, people should not go to that extent of throwing stones when you're in a glass house. If you're not prepared, you have to fight in a very careful and a very strategic manner. And Anandama Guru referred to the Rajput fully. When the Rajput, a few numbers were going to fight their enemies. I think it was the Muslims or the British, but they were small in numbers, and so they were destroyed completely. This is a Rajput fully. If you're not prepared to war, you have to fight in a diplomatic way, make representations at the UN, the UNESCO, and platforms and forums. I remember as a little boy, I used to pass through the Starbuck Market going to school from the West Coast, travel the boat. And one day I saw a girl. She was asking me to sign a paper, a tall, clear complexion girl, they were standing just not too far from the bookstall where these Negro and Indian guys were selling there in the central, where Jai has his stand. They were more up just in the passageway going from north to south. She was right behind one of these stands, and she was asking people to sign something or to listen to. I can't remember it. I was just around 11 or 12 years. I thought she was European, and then I heard the gang which I was walking with, they said she was from Iran. They're protesting, or they're trying to solicit support for some issue that they have in the country and so on. So there are many ways people can fight, and they can respond to degrading issues and so on, but to shed blood and cause so much despair on the planet Earth, causing such human grievance, depression all over the planet. People look to see how people can hate each other and they can fight each other down. There's no better way to settle, I used to be silent because I believe in non-violence, but when I'm a problem, When people choose to be silent, then it's another issue, you know. So people have to learn to live together, especially the Christians and the Muslims. I heard that they are actually families, you know. They are both Abrahamic religion, in that their father of both Islam and Christian was Abraham, you know, and they should not be fighting like this, brothers fighting brothers, and all these things, shedding so much blood, you know. In fact, I remember living here in Bel Air when we first came to live. My mother was working as a Georgetown hospital as a doctor. She was a dispenser, but she was acting in the portfolio of a doctor because of the experience and so on. She was working as MOPD. At that time, they weren't training doctors and so in this country. And every year they would send about 2 or 3 Guyanese to study in Cuba. And they come back, they work sometime, and they migrated to better shores and so on. So what happened is that she was working there at MOPD, and at lunch we would go there for lunch from school. And there were many doctors she was in contact with, you know, many foreigners, Cubans, Russian. And I noticed an Islamic associate, you know, they would visit her often for medicines, exams, and so on. I was thinking my mother is very good, you know, why all these people educated Muslim. And then I find these Muslim people were going directly to the Spanish people homes and so, and then they start to invite them home. So I noticed that Europeans, they have a more better relation with Muslims, you know. Even in my neighborhood, I see that in Muslim places, the Europeans feel more comfortable going there at a Muslim place. So we were denied this communication, this exchange of human sentiments, feelings, and conversation, and so on. So the preference went to the Muslims. But eventually, you know, they say like every other relation, it probably goes sour after a while, you know. One Swamiji was telling me, he said, love everybody, but don't get attached to nobody. If you get attached, it will cause, you know, various kind of dark feelings and retaliation and revenge and all these kind of things. So there's a problem maybe with Christian Islam, you know, a kind of love that is not properly cultivated or nurtured in the proper way, just becomes bad, you know. It's sad to see step-brothers and brothers with the same philosophy and same ideology, you know, in this kind of situation. Now I do hope the war will finish soon and an example will be set for the rest of humanity to live peacefully. For example, in India, they said Subhas Chandra Bose was actually the hero of the Indian independence. But because Mahatma Gandhi promoted and propagated non-violence, and the world wanted more non-violence than violence, they said Mahatma Gandhi was the hero of India's independence. So in the same way, we hope these great nations, they will not set an example of violence for our young people, for the technological era, for the new dawn of a new spiritual era, you know. Spirituality, in the words of Swami Chandrasekharananda of Kanchi, the late Sankacharya, he said spirituality is a binding force. True spirituality brings people closer together than any other relation, you know. And yoga brings people together after, for example, if their marriage have problem, their homes have problem. It's known and popular that people and family that prays together, they stays together. So if there's something wrong with the prayers and the spiritual practice, you know, maybe they both Christian and Muslim, they could come over into the Hindu camp, and we will have enough space. We can give them water, we can give them drink and food and shelter, and we can help them to grow in their own religions by interpreting, reinterpreting, and helping them with problems in understanding and following the scripture. Today there are so many fights, you know. In Guyana here, for example, we don't have the Muslim issue so much, but we have racial issues. In the Eastern Asia, they have the Muslim issues and the Chinese, the Mongol issues, the Mongols and the Mughals. They've been at war. Many of the Mongols are converting to Islam now. all the Chinese Taoism and everything is being thrown away. People are going for Islam. Second largest religion in the world, and what an example. The two greatest religion. Us Hindus with a smaller population, we look in and say what it takes to be great is, should we follow the leaders to learn to fight, learn to kill, learn to combat, learn warfare, and so on? Is this the way? And I find that many of the soldiers now in the world, they are imitating the killer soldiers. They're imitating those who can kill well and who can combat, fight well in wars, and so on. So to protect yourself, we should follow these guys, become guerrillas and rebels and Houthis and Hamas and Joes and Janes and what else? The Israelite army so powerful, Maybe the Jawa now will learn the art and study in the University of Military Sciences so that they can learn to fight and kill more, One great saint, Hindu saint, he said, when you kill 100 patients, you're a novice. But when you kill 1,000, you become qualified as a doctor. So hope the similar doesn't apply to military strategies and stratagems and so on, because we have people who want to live, people who want to grow, people who want to prosper. Make the planet a better place, make the planet richer, brighter, more colorful, more tantalizing. Enchant the fighters with sweets and goodies of various permutations, various colors and trends in technology should aim at enchanting the mind away from these kind of lower pulls to violence and so on. We should have more inventions to keep people hypnotized and magnetized in the virtues of psychic unfoldment and spiritual unfoldment. Those who have such great powers, may they learn to become better fishers of men. Namaskar and a prosperous and merry new year. Haribol, Har Har Mahadev, Om Shanti, Shalom, Salam.